All right, welcome back. We got a good one today. Roth IRAs versus HSAs. Okay, health saving accounts. Let's dig into it. And this is fresh off the presses. I just released this morning. So go ahead, grab the book. I like it. If you're ever interested in how I make my book covers, I do a video on these every day now. So you can kind of see, if you're a independent writer, you want to make your own book covers. I got a whole new YouTube video for you. So check that out. You can link to it from my blog. All right. So every year we should be trying to increase our income. At the same point, we have to keep our taxes in mind. We don't just want to give away our money. So there's ways that we can protect and shelter our income. And the government provides these ways. Okay. So you got your Roth IRAs, which I'm a big fan of. And in my Roth, I put index funds. All right. But we also have HSAs, health saving accounts. Now, I read the HSA Owner's Manual. I finished that earlier this week. All right, this book right here. You have the link right there. Read the review. And it's in depth. It's a very in depth book about everything HSA related. All right, there's all kinds of scenarios. The hardest part about an HSA is the most challenging part of HSA is getting into an HSA. So becoming HSA eligible. All right, so I'm in the military, so I have TRICARE. I'm not eligible. Medicare makes you ineligible. All right, if your other plans are that you have might not be eligible, right? Because the HSA has a federal regulation, and the states have to conform to the federal to have the HSA. So a lot of states might be missing one part of the HSA qualification, and then they're not HSA qualified. But if you can do all the work, all right, it's gonna be amazing to get into a HSA. All right, HSAs are triple tax protected. What does that mean? That means that the contributions, the money you put in, is tax free. Okay. The growth, so you put it in index funds, that all that growth is going to be tax free. And then your distributions for qualified medical expenses are tax exempt and tax free. All right. So using all those together, you're looking at tax free money. And very rarely can you get tax free money. All right. So we need to make every effort in our power to get into these HSAs. Now, the HSA, your main thing is you want to create a nest egg. Now, most of us can't get into HSAs at this level. If you're listening to me and you care about HSAs, probably can't get into one. You might be able to. If you buy individual health insurance, you probably can't. But if you have stuff through your work and you don't know if you're HSA, you probably aren't. But I'm looking at this for my kids. Okay, when my kid turns 18, I want to be able to get him into HSA and do that until he becomes ineligible for HSA. So say he does 5 years or 10 years and he maxes out the HSAs. All right, that money will grow tax free for the rest of his life. And even if he becomes HSA ineligible, he can still use the HSA money. So, if he gets TRICARE, say for some reason he, has TRICARE later on in life or something like that, he can still grab the $50,000, $60,000, $100,000. He can still use that for qualified medical expenses. So say there's a copay on TRICARE or something cost, and more importantly, if whoever he has on his taxes as a dependent he can use qualified medical expenses for them. So say he gets TRICARE later on in life, and he has his kids on there, and for some reason their stuff's not qualified for medical. He can use the HSA money. All right, so that's my thinking, is that HSA for kids. So here are the limits, right? 3,600 for HSAs for 2020. That's the maximum, and 6,000 for Roth. Now, again, the HSA is going to be completely tax free if you can use it for qualified medical expenses. Now, the real kicker is that you could use HSA money for your long-term care insurance. So we're all going to need that, right? We all want to have long-term care insurance. So it really doesn't matter, like whatever we think we're going to do, we're probably going to need long-term care insurance. So if you can pay for your long-term care insurance with tax-free money that's grown, right? You put it in your Roth IRA or you put in your HSA between age 20 and 30, you have 100K. By the time you're 60, you have $1,000,000, and then you're just using tax-free money to pay for your long-term care insurance for you and your spouse. And then potentially, you could pay for the kids' long-term care insurance if they need it. I don't think they'll need it that early. But whatever the case may be, and you never know if whatever happens to your kids or your grandkids. So, I mean, if you have a big HSA nest egg and for some reason something medical is happening to your grandkids, maybe you can put somebody on make them your dependent, and you can use that money tax free. I mean, if you're willing to do the work, you can leverage this HSA for major projects, major things. Okay, you gotta be willing to do the work and understand it. Now, comparing the two, they're both very similar. The kicker for HSA is at age 65, you could take it out for anything. You could take the money out for anything. You just have to pay taxes on it. So it becomes more like a 401k. Okay, so say you have 100,000 in your HSA, you have 100,000 in your Roth. The Roth will be tax free for anything. You take out your distribution, it's all tax free. Now your HSA, your 100,000, you can use that for 100,000 tax free for your medical. But say that you want to, use 50,000 to start a fund. You're going to pay your taxes, right? Maybe whatever your individual tax rate is, say 30%. You pay your 30% on distribution, but you won't be penalized, right, at age 65. So it becomes a 401k. So, even as a backup, you still have the money. It's no different than your 401k now, right? So obviously we want to try to use medical expenses, but the Roth is getting taxed up front. So the Roth is going to be nice at the end. But if we're smart, we can navigate towards using it for medical and keep all that tax-free income. Okay. So here am I thinking. In comparing them, I said the money is tax-free going into the HSA. Okay. So when your employer puts it in, it's tax-free, or you can put it in yourself and then write that deduction off later on. Okay. And lower your own tax bill if you put it in yourself. Okay. Now, here's the main kicker. I keep saying kicker, but here's the main thing. All right. Number 2, you can make tax-free distributions at any age, even 18 for medical expenses. Again, the Roth is locked in till you're 60. It's nice, don't get me wrong, but where is the realism, right? You want to have 100K, 200K in your Roth. It's nice, but then you're living in real life and you have a house and the refrigerator breaks or something, you can't use that money. So for the HSA, for medical expenses, if something comes up and you need $5,000, you don't have to worry. You're 25 years old, you have 15K in your HSA, you still pull it out, no penalties, plus it's still tax free. And another thing with the HSA is that you can postpone paying out of the HSA. So say for instance, you have a 5,000 expense, you have the cash flow, you have the money in your savings account, you pay it. Great. It's already tax money. If you save the receipt, you can take that 5,000 out tax free and pay yourself back later on. So you don't even have to take the money out of the HSA at the moment. Just keep your taxes, document everything. And then later, if you're 65 or whatever age you want to take it out, you can take it out and it'll be tax free then, right? And you upload your receipt. You say, hey, IRS, this is why I made that distribution. I got it. So you can lower your tax rate going forward, right? When we're younger, we have a job, we have income. But maybe when we're later, we can say, okay, hey, I want to pay myself back and I can use that money for a trip, completely tax free. You see what I'm saying? So there's ways to get this money out and pay yourself back. You can be very smart with this. Okay, again, long-term care insurance. Now, long-term care insurance and long-term care is when you go to a medical facility as an older person, right, and they take care of you. Sometimes it can cost between $6,000 and $10,000 a month, right, for these homes. So you get the insurance, so that lowers it down. But even the insurance is going to be costly. So we can get that tax free. It's be amazing. Okay. So again, the HSA, you want, I would do index funds. You can do dividend stocks. You can do dividend growth, whatever you want to do, right? I would do index funds, and then maybe later on convert them, but you really don't, because you're going to be selling, right? I don't think there's any tax advantage to leaving an HSA to your kids. I think it becomes kind of like a brokerage, right? Don't quote me on that one, but it becomes more like um, a 401k. They're going to get taxed on it unless they use it for medical expenses, and they have to liquidate in 10 years. So if your kids are young, 40, and they get the HSA and they don't have any medical expenses, they're going to get taxed at it. So, you might want to spend this thing down or find a way to, get this thing withered down to the bare minimums. Okay. So we want to leverage compounding early on. Okay. So in my opinion, I would try to get as much money into the HSA before the Roth IRA. Okay. You want to have your emergency fund, but the HSA for your kids is going to be important, right? If you're 40 years old right now and you have medical insurance, would I go and try to get HSA? Nah, not really. Not really. You're only going to lower your tax bill by $3,000 a year, so it's not that much. But for a young person to get the money in tax free and keep it, and then be able to leverage it, and another special thing, I won't say kicker, another special thing is that your children can remain on your TRICARE or medical insurance until 26 if they're in college, and they can still buy a HSA on their own. So if something happens, they'll use your TRICARE. So that means that they can pretty much upload all the money into their HSA and not have to withdraw anything because they won't need it. So that's a super double dip. All right, so that's gonna be lit. So, this is how rich people think. They are leveraging the tools available to get ahead. Now, I read the book on HSA. Now, I'm very intrigued by it, and it's something I want to get my kids into. My oldest is 15, and we already have him a brokerage account and some I bonds. But yeah, if he turns 18, I can use, and anybody could fund your HSA. So I can literally just give him the money. I don't know if that'd be my tax deductible or his. I'll have to look into that. But anybody can put the money into the HSA. So right at the start of whatever year, January, I could just throw in $3,600. He's good for the year, and either I write it off or he writes it off, and now that money's growing. And say try to get him up to 20K in the HSA before age 25, and just let that money sit, right? And then he'll be sitting on 200K by 65. Long-term care insurance, something else comes up. Maybe his kids need the money for some medical expenses. It's a good deal. It's a good deal. And like I said, the main thing with the Roth is between age 25 or age 18 to 65 or 60, you're going to have to live in real world. Okay. And having $100,000, $200,000 sitting there that you can't access is not fun. I've did it. I've had to withdraw out of my TSP, which is a 401k. It's not fun. And, now that I have money in my actual possession and accessible funds, it's a completely different lifestyle. I don't worry about anything. You're still on your own when you have that Roth growing and you can't access it. Okay. So with that, go download the book. Like I said, this is fresh off the presses. It's a good looking book. I designed it on stream, so you can check out my design. But yeah, have a good one. Till next time. Bye.